Bitcoin or altcoins, which will be more successful in the bull market? We're going to have that important conversation with special guest Gary Cardone joining us in about 30 minutes. We also have Max from Crypto Hub breaking down the Bitcoin chart, telling us about the order flows, the open interest, where is money flowing, what can we expect from the price of Bitcoin over the next few weeks. Gary Gensler was on CNBC today, and well, he was asked a lot about Ethereum, about Robinhood. Speaking of Robinhood, they were served a Wells notice, and the founder put out a tweet. We're going to go over that. Also, Tom Emmer spoke about Gary Gensler. Are his days numbered at the SEC? We also have a lot of things to talk about. Bitcoin whales are accumulating. High net worth individuals are continuing to buy a lot of Bitcoin. And the second straight day of positive flows for the GBTC ETF. What does that mean? Is 70K around the corner? We're going to talk about that and much, much more on today's episode of Sin City Crypto. Let's go.
Hola! It's your boy and your other boy, Big Rob and Lil Dave, back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto. If it's your first time checking us out, we're the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency channel where we take old, boring, and stale information and repackage it up in a fun and sexy kind of way.
You know, I want to settle this once and for all. Rocco, will you put on the studio cam? Put on the studio. Robin, I want you to get out of your seat. Let's see who's bigger, who's little. Come on.
Wow. Come on, sit down. I got a show to do. Let's go. All right, so Bitcoin's moving. Hasn't slowed down in the last week, other than this morning, small little pullback. But I still believe $70,000 by Friday is in the works. Do you agree or do you disagree, David?
I'm kind of scared to answer like you were scared to compare your height next to mine. You know, numbers and signs are pointing to things going up towards 70K versus down towards sub 60K. We're in this weird accumulation spot, which we've seen from Bitcoin post-halving before. And it's great that we have Max joining us from the Crypto Hub. He was with us last week. He's going to break down really where is money flowing, not just charts and price action and patterns, but within those candles and within those patterns, what are the investors, what are the traders doing, and where can we expect price to go? As far as price to go from the ETFs, we have ETF flows from yesterday. So again, the second consecutive day of positive flows for GBTC, albeit it was less than $4 million. BlackRock, $21.5 million in inflows. Fidelity, almost $100 million. $2.1 million from Bitwise. ARK brought in $75.6 million, putting them at number 2 for the day. And everyone else was either positive, net, or null or zero. Including Grayscale, $3.9 million, which brought our total net flow of positive $217 million. We also have this I want to share that was tweeted from Bitcoin Magazine. Wealth management firm Hightower Advisors owns over $68 million in spot ETFs, according to an SEC filing. Here's the beauty of, you know, publicly traded companies here in the U.S. that every quarter they have to put out there these forms, a 13F form or whatever other forms there are, to tell their shareholders, hey, this is our balance sheet. This is what we're holding. This is how much cash we brought in the quarter. This is our earnings. That's why they have quarterly earnings calls and earnings reports. And so as we continue to go quarter to quarter to quarter, I think we're going to see more and more of these 13F filings. You're going to see some of your favorite companies, maybe the bank you bank with, your community bank, maybe your own pension fund you have through work, having exposure to the Bitcoin ETFs, being that they're so accessible, they're cheap. And so this is great flows. Are we done seeing negative GBTC flows? Potentially. Can I safely say we're probably done seeing those $200-300 million outflow days from Grayscale? I could feel pretty confident saying the probabilities of that taking back up again are pretty slim, and less than 5% would be where I'm at. Now, what's not 5% and what's 100% after our industry is Gary Gensler. So we know they served Robinhood a Wells notice, which pretty much means, hey, we found some stuff about you and probably going to sue you. So here's a little, here's a little, hey, a little, forget the word I'm trying to look for. Anyways, Vlad Tenev, the co-founder of Robinhood, tweeted this yesterday. Over the last 3 years, we reached a state of regulatory onslaught that is harmful to American companies and consumers. The SEC's continued attack on crypto, coupled with recent rule proposals like the one related to predictive data analytics, mark yet another improper attempt by the administration to stifle innovation. While we strive to maintain positive and productive relationships with our regulators, if necessary, we will use our resources to contest this matter in the courts with the intent of both defending our crypto business and establishing regulatory clarity in the United States for the benefit of our customers. Now, this is important because Robinhood is not a crypto native company, right? They're a retail-driven app that allows people, that started off allowing people to buy and sell stocks. Now they've integrated crypto, and they're really starting to come around and see, yeah, these guys, Gary over at the SEC, they're just attacking the industry as a whole. And to which people like Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, they reposted this and said, "Hey, welcome to the club. You're in good. You're in good company." What was not good company is Gary, and he was on CNBC. Let's watch our friend Gary here.
One of the things I wanted to ask you is, when you look at the headlines today around what the SEC is doing and what your priorities are, it's hard to tell how much of your focus today is on the stock market writ large versus the world of crypto and trying to figure out the future of Ethereum and other things. How do you see it?
Well, I see it this way. We oversee a $110 trillion capital market. About half of that's the stock market, half, as you might know, is the bond markets and other markets. Crypto is a small piece of our overall markets, and but it's an outsized piece of the scams and frauds and problems in our markets, because without prejudging any one token, much of this field is non-compliant.
Without prejudging any one token, except for, of course, the ones we listed in these Wells notices, and when we were having talks with the other commissioners behind closed doors that, in fact, let's label ETH as security and then go in front of Congress and straight out lie. Except for that, it's not trying to prejudge anything,
With the protections of our securities laws. And so thus, you end up with like an outsized ratio of journalist questions and crypto journalists to market cap.
But is that a function also of the fact that that's where your attention is too?
No, it's a function of where your attention is. Think about it. I've been on your show, a dozen times, and every show you ask about crypto. And my guessing is this will be a majority crypto interview, while the capital market.
Gary, I wonder why. I wonder why every time you go on an interview, the interviewee, or the interviewer asks you about crypto. I wonder why. Could it be potentially that you consistently go after crypto companies? All you do is issue Wells notices. You kind of muddy the waters and then tell people, come in and register. And then when they try to come in, well, you kind of give them a look and say, you know what to do. The rules are there, figure it out. Maybe that's why they continue to ask you. It's funny. He tries to compare, well, crypto is only a 1% part of the capital markets, but, all my attention is there, and letting other things like our politicians screwing over the retail investor by front-running news that they vote on. And so it's just interesting. He does get to the part where he talks about Ethereum. That was very interesting as well. Let's take a listen.
Markets are 110 trillion. So it's also about where the financial media is focused.
Well, I want to ask you actually about a whole bunch of things in the classic stock market.
I'm looking forward to it.
But let me ask you this. Vlad Tenev, Robinhood, you delivered a Wells notice to them. I know that you're not going to want to speak directly to them, but I do want to read you, because what's interesting is literally just yesterday he put out a statement effectively attacking you and the SEC. Brian Armstrong from Coinbase said effectively, welcome to the club. I mean, all of this goes on to Twitter.
So that the listeners, the American public, can understand, we have a really important responsibility as being a cop on the beat and ensuring that people that are asking you to put your money in to buy or sell securities.
You know, cop on the beat. Gary's like that cop that pulls you over and is like, do you know why I pulled you over? And then you say, no. And then he's like, well, you got to guess. And then whatever you guess is not really what they pulled you over for, but they'll still take you to jail for it. You know, I want to keep, I'm interested in you.
Are following the law, so you get disclosures, that you get certain protections. And we have live in-court litigation with at least one of those companies, Coinbase, in front of judges at this point in time.
What is the state of play, though, with Robinhood, to the extent that you can discuss it? And for those investors out there who are watching this morning who might have money at Robinhood, what are they supposed to think about these news
Look,
reports?
I can't speak to any one company, but stepping back from it, the field of crypto assets, without prejudging any one of them, many of those tokens are securities under the law of the land as interpreted by the U.S. Supreme Court. So we follow that law. And you, the investors, are not getting the required or needed disclosures about those assets. And so, like, this is earnings seasons right now, Andrew. Everybody's asking about what's the earnings release and how many companies are beating earnings or falling behind and so forth. Where is the disclosures from these crypto tokens similar to these season earnings releases?
We
Well,
need
let me
the
ask you
earnings
this.
report from
Ultimately,
Bitcoin.
and I think this is
That's what we need.
Call the
Bitcoin,
CEO down here.
Where is your earnings? We need those disclosed right now. Oh, never mind. It's transparent. It's on the blockchain. Your request has actually been fulfilled there, Gary.
a good point.
Your transparency and your disclosures are embedded into the program itself. There
Wow.
it is.
Who would have thought? You know, it's crazy. A lot of these Bitcoin miners are publicly traded companies, and what better gauge of the Bitcoin network than to see where the miners are? Are they making money? What's the revenue look like? What's the earning per share? And as Rob mentioned, which brings up a really good point, just go look yourself. How much fees have been paid? How are the transactions like? What's the uptime? You can look for yourself, Gary. It's all there. I'm sure someone at the SEC or someone over there, one of your friends, can kind of help you. Maybe call your brother. I heard he's into crypto.
You know, the funny thing is that we have a situation where he's talking about protecting investors and what's best for investors, and that's always what we hear about. But as an advocate for cryptocurrency, as a personal investor in cryptocurrency, you don't have my best interest there. The only product that you allow me to purchase is Bitcoin. And even then, I think to myself, hey, if right now Bitcoin ETFs are traded and they're given the green light by the SEC, what's to stop them from perhaps reversing that decision later on, right? It might sound kind of foolish, but we don't need to look any further than Coinbase, right? You say, hey, Coinbase, you are a private company. You're applying to be a publicly traded company. We vetted your company. We vetted your program. And you know what? We approve you to be listed on Wall Street. We approve you to be a publicly traded company. And then a year and a half later, we're going to sue you for your operations because it violates securities law, which makes no sense because their business model didn't change from when they got approved to be a publicly traded company to the time the lawsuit came down. And so, as foolish as it sounds, what is to stop the SEC from saying, hey, this Bitcoin thing is a scam and we want to shut it down? They did it once with Ethereum. They said, hey, it's sufficiently decentralized. It is not a security, it's a commodity. And now they've taken a hardline stance the other direction. And this came from the chair of the SEC, the prior chair. Now, here we find ourselves maybe in a similar situation.
But I think
And
the difference, Rob, is the court ruling, right? In the Grayscale lawsuit.
It is, but I'm not saying that that's going to happen. But what I'm saying is that there is an unchecked power that the SEC has. And the fact that they can switch their stance on a moment's notice just because they feel like it is the landscape that we're in now. And it's frightening. It's an overreach, and there's just no checks, right? We see the SEC have to go to Congress and answer questions, but at the end of the day, there's really not any real checks or balances, right? There's no real enforcement. All they do is get interrogated by the Congress. And then as soon as the congressional hearing is over, it's all business as usual, right? And what I'm afraid is happening is that the investors here are just not, they're not allowed to purchase crypto, right? Right now, if you have zero idea what's going on in crypto, if you don't know anything about Bitcoiners' history, you might say to yourself, hey, I want to buy Bitcoin. And well, Coinbase, the largest exchange where I can buy my crypto, well, they're getting sued. Hey, all the other exchanges also getting sued. Robinhood getting sued. So where do you participate? Where do you go and buy your crypto if you're unsure of what the regulatory landscape is? And right now, it looks like the only place you can buy crypto in the United States comfortably without the fear of U.S. regulators coming in would be through the ETF, the Bitcoin ETF, and that's it. And so all other crypto assets are null and void right now, at least in the eyes of the SEC. And it's a scary place, right?
Yeah, so scary. We have breaking news, actually, but we're not going to go over that first. We're going to bring on our guest, Max. Joined us last week from Crypto Hub. This is Magic Internet Money's business partner. Loved having him on. Max, welcome back to the show, my friend. How you doing?
I'm very well, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Max. Breaking news. We wanted to get your reaction here. Rocco, go ahead and pull up my laptop. The SEC has sued Wakanda for distributing unregistered precious metals, and the price of vibranium has dropped 17% on the news. Max, what are your thoughts here? Is the vibranium market going to tank? Have a chart on this for us?
I do not, but I can come up with one if you give me like 10 minutes.
That was so funny. Max,
But
last time...
I'm worse than Magic for news, by the way.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
I'm worse than Magic for following the news.
It's okay. This one is a pun. This one is a... I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. You know, the SEC has gone after everyone, right?
Fake metal, isn't it?
Yeah, this is obviously this is a joke, but Wakanda was in the movie Black Panther. Not sure if you watch a lot of movies or not, but me and my kids, one of our favorite movies. But anyways, from movies to real life, Bitcoin is currently, I'm looking at the price, Max, $63,172. We did start to test that 65K level and got rejected. What are you seeing on your chart for BTC? Where is the money flowing, and what does open interest look like?
Okay. Oh, look at you remembering the open interest. I'm impressed.
Mm-hmm. So what do we got here? Bitcoin on the daily? Max, I think we might have lost your audio, my friend. We see your laptop, but we didn't catch any audio. Maybe you accidentally muted yourself when you swapped over to your laptop. But I guess I would try to figure that out. Rob, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin's kind of price action as far as retesting that 65K? Do you see it as positive being on being above 60K, or is it a negative that we can't seem to cross that 64, 65?
Well, I mean, if you zoom out to the 1 week here, you can see that we went from 60K. We had the scare where a lot of people were saying that, hey, we are going down to low 50s, kind of spooked the market, dropped down to 57, but just been a healthy recovery since then. You can see since was it Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, we had the 60K threshold broken, and ever since then we've been consolidating here at 63,000. And I think that I think we hang out here for a day or two, and then I think we take our another leg up at the end of the week. I am very, very have a very, very strong feeling about the 70K range. Maybe I don't think we're gonna. I don't think that we're gonna break above 70K, sit at 72, consolidate. But I do think that we get a nice, healthy run up to 68,000. I think that we get a 1 day candle or a candle wick, a couple hours where we're over 70,000. Get that euphoric event, and then I do think that the sell pressure will bring it back down. But I do think that we tap 70K this week.
Interesting. it'll be interesting to see what the rest of the flows look like for Bitcoin, the ETF, for the remainder of the week. Are we going to see more inflows from Grayscale? What are the Hong Kong inflows going to look like? Are we going to see more quarterly filings of companies that come out and say, hey, we have exposure to Bitcoin via the ETF? That plus everything going on. And guys, retail is not even here yet. And we got a video we're going to show you a little later about a speech that was given at Ohio State University and the reaction of the people there and kind of what that tells us in a small, very small sample size of where we are in the cycle when it comes to retail. We know institutions are here kind of for the most part via the ETF, right? Or at least the rails are there now, right? They have the ability to go on there now and to get exposure to Bitcoin without having to worry about, well, tax implications, accounting, fair accounting, how do we custody it? What do we do? So those things are all in place, making it a lot easier when they are ready and say, hey, look, we've done our research. We've seen X, Y, and Z company do it. They made a lot of money. Bitcoin's been around for a very long time. Let's go ahead and pull the trigger. What's 1% going to hurt? Even if it goes to zero, we'll be fine. But the upside potential is absolutely massive. Then we can show that off to the rest of the market and say, look, we've returned 150% for our clients over the last 18 months. What better marketing than that, right? The whole idea of these asset managers is they want to bring people into their network and manage their assets. And while the proof is in the pudding. So if you can show those kind of returns for people, obviously that's good. And then I do want to show this video here. This is Tom Emmer speaking about Chairman Gensler. So let's take a listen here to Mr. Emmer.
Chairman Gary Gensler's tenure at the SEC has been characterized by regulatory hypocrisy, inconsistency, and incompetence. The Securities and Exchange Commission's Staff Accounting Bulletin 121, commonly known as SAB 121, is just one example of Chair Gensler's egregious attempts to expand the SEC's authority and his clear bias toward the digital asset ecosystem. More than 2 years ago, the SEC disguised this illegal rule as guidance, circumventing Congress and public input so they could prevent banks from safeguarding consumer-owned digital assets. However, this rule isn't just overreaching and illegal, it violates the SEC's statutory mission. First, SAB 121 introduces more unnecessary and avoidable concentration risk into the digital asset ecosystem, making our markets less fair, less orderly, and less efficient. Second, it weakens investor protections by barring Americans from using the established banking infrastructure to custody their digital assets, which leaves Americans' assets more vulnerable if a custodian becomes insolvent. And third, this rule hampers capital formation and global competitiveness as foreign banks already have the ability to compete in crypto markets while our banks cannot. The SEC's statutory mission is to protect investors, facilitate capital formation, and maintain fair, orderly, and efficient markets. Chairman Gensler is violating all three of these with his illegal SAB 121 rule. Later this week, House Republicans, we're going to do our job to provide oversight and accountability to the SEC by passing Congressman Mike Flood's resolution so that this illegal and harmful rule ceases to be in effect. I hope that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle will join us as we work to ensure the digital asset ecosystem can thrive right here in the United States.
Yes, to all the Congress people watching, please join this man. And let's disband Gary and his, power hungriness, his grab for, I don't know what this guy's deal is, but shout out to Tom Emmer for speaking out so loudly about Gary Gensler consistently. We love to hear it. And then I want to share this post here from AP Abacus. Dude's been pretty spot on. I follow his account. Great info here. It said, more SEC actions are coming over the next month. That shouldn't be a surprise. play the increased regulatory angst by loading up on Bitcoin. BTC is the only, quote, approved crypto asset at the moment. And as regulators squeeze, Bitcoin will surge as a flight to quality asset. What are your thoughts on that, Robin? Do you agree with the 3 bullet points he has as far as, hey, Bitcoin is the only asset right now, the only crypto asset right now that you don't have to worry about the SEC coming after. And also, as the regulators continue to squeeze at the neck of these altcoins, people will be like, oh, well, you know, I don't want to take that risk. I'm going to move my money from X altcoin, Y altcoin, Z altcoin to Bitcoin. Do you think that's going to happen? What are your thoughts?
You know, I don't know what to expect out of the SEC when it comes to regulation. As I mentioned before, you know, at one point in time, they might be pro Bitcoin, pro Ethereum, pro altcoins, pro innovation, and then on the flip of a hat or flip of a coin, it's they're over here trying to shut everything down again. I think that I will say this, that I'm not sure what the SEC will do. Is to answer your question, I have zero idea. Just when you think that they're loosening up regulation, they're passing the ETF, they seem to double down on Ethereum and altcoins. As soon as they seem like they say, hey, we are working with crypto companies to get them on board, people are coming in and working with the SEC. They take a even harder stance against crypto, and they file more and more Wells notices. I'll say this. There is an election year. We're in an election year. We are 6 months away, right, from the election?
About, yeah.
If there is a change in leadership on the executive level, which some could say that the polls are, the people are leaning to replace the incumbent president, a change at the SEC head, I think, is almost certain. Do you agree?
If we get a change of...
If Biden doesn't get reelected.
I mean, yeah. If Biden doesn't... Okay, so if someone other than Joe Biden gets elected, yes, I don't think Gary Gensler is going to remain.
Okay. So basically, if Trump gets into office...
Gensler's gone.
Gensler's gone.
RFK gets in office. Gensler's definitely
RFK's not going to win, unfortunately. But
I mean, he's leading a lot of polls. I know that's pretty long shot. But yeah. But who knows? Who knows? It's an interesting question, and I want to get Gary Cardone's take on this. Gary is one of our favorite guests on the show. Love having him on. Love his insight. He speaks from a place of not where a lot of people can't because of what he's accomplished, where he is in the space. And so we love his input. We love having him on. Gary, how you doing, my friend? Welcome back to the channel.
How are we today?
Looks like we're having some audio issues, Gary. We're going to...
You got it. What's that?
Good. Gary, I want to play the back half of Gary Gensler's video, and I want to get your take on, hey, what's happening with these altcoins? As you know, this tweet I mentioned, as regulators squeeze, Bitcoin will surge as a flight to quality. And so I want to watch this with you and then kind of get your take on it afterwards.
The big question in crypto land right now. Is Ethereum a commodity or is Ethereum a security? And therefore, will there one day be an ETF? That's the fundamental question on the table in crypto land. You agree?
Oh, you're the one that's out there asking the questions. All I would say is, to me, the fundamental question is how do we ensure that the American investor is protected? And right now, they're not getting the required or needed disclosures. And the intermediaries in the center of this rather centralized market generally are conflicted and doing things we would never allow the New York Stock Exchange to do. The New York Stock Exchange is not allowed to trade against the investors.
Okay, but let me ask you about this. You've seen the consensus lawsuit, and I know you have a Wells notice with them as well. This is Patrick Henry saying the following, and I want you to respond to it. Just months after a federal judge sanctioned SEC enforcement lawyers for lying in court, new evidence shows that Chair Gary Gensler himself misled Congress. The testimony to the Financial Services Committee last April, Chair Gensler refused to answer questions about the SEC's classification of Ether, and new court filings show this was an intentional attempt to misrepresent the Commission's position.
We speak to Congress directly in hearings like that, and also directly to members, and we share with them accurately what we're doing, so that the viewers can also understand we don't speak about whether we have an investigation or whether we don't have an investigation, and we don't speak about whether somebody is, in our opinion, not following the law unless we actually bring a case.
You know, very interesting there. Gary, I'll go back to this tweet again. Do you agree with Andrew here that, you know, as Gary continues on his tirade of suing and issuing Wells notices and taking these projects to court, that people are going to be like, look, I don't want to risk being, you know, holding a bag of altcoins when Bitcoin's the only crypto asset that has technically gotten the stamp of approval from Gary Gensler and the SEC?
Well, I want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. If you can't, just let me know.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
I don't, first off, Andrew, like I'm not going to take any investment advice from Andrew. Not sure he's, you know, we thought in the early days, Gensler was our buddy. So I would encourage everybody to be careful about who we pick to be our buddies. Andrew will butter whatever slice of the bread that makes him the most. Gensler, look, I have been very concerned about all these altcoins because I think they are coming after all of it. They will reserve the right to change the rules, and it makes Bitcoin, this is what I continue to say, Bitcoin is risk adjusted. I don't even think you can compare the two different. You're comparing an asset up against a lot of potential liabilities that might be an asset one day, but it has a lot of liabilities associated with that asset. I'm talking Ethereum and everything else outside Bitcoin. So to me, I don't understand why people think that the dominance of Bitcoin isn't going to increase. As it becomes so clear it's the blessed one, you should, I would assume that the dominance is going to, you know, continue to rise up. And if it doesn't, then how does it ever overtake NVIDIA or Saudi Aramco or gold, right?
You know, Gary, let me ask you this question, okay? So, you know, people will pile into altcoins because there is more money to be made there, right? It's easier to get a 20, 50x out of a, $150, $300 million market cap project versus getting a 20x from Bitcoin who's already at $1 trillion. So what you're saying is you don't think that the risk versus reward will be there for people to continue to purchase, buy, and hold altcoins, and just, hey, I'll be happy with a 3 to 5 or maybe even a 10x from Bitcoin, and I'll let go of these altcoins I have that I think can get me a 50, 60x.
Yeah, I'm sure there's dozens of people out there that have made money with that strategy. I have yet to meet one. So at Gary Cardone, you can direct mail me. I'd love to see like really the results of this, because I think there's been far more people that have lost massive amounts of money, really significant life-changing money, playing that game. And if I'm right and the dominance flips and we do have regulatory risk here, what if you have a lot more volatility in those others? And you may like that volatility, but if I'm right and dominance starts to really prevail here, what if the returns that you're used to getting actually go up a bit on Bitcoin, knowing that your risk on the altcoins is most certainly going up? The risk on the altcoins is higher today than it was 3 months ago. I think that's fair to say, right? Like it's pretty clear the SEC, doing this to everyone. And they, like David, the truth is the guy has zero emotional response. I mean, he doesn't even look embarrassed.
Yeah.
Okay. He was called egregious and capricious. I can't remember the last time the U.S. government did that to a government body and the guy running it. So to me, it's the Bitcoin really is blessing Bitcoin.
Would your stance change if, let's say, in November we get a new president, right? It doesn't have to be Trump. It could maybe be RFK. Who knows? But if Gary Gensler is gone and we get a more if we get a more pro crypto, or we get some sort of legislation where it does give some clarity, would that change? Is that enough to change your outlook?
Well, I'm not investing in November. I'm investing right now. So if I'm investing right now, you can try to trick me there, see? If I'm investing right now, I'm now taking another bet that says I know how the election's going to go. So I'm stacking on bets here. Like, what if, look, if the queen had balls, she'd be the king. I mean, I can run so many scenarios, but I look at Bitcoin and go, I'm quite certain Bitcoin is going to be King Kong. So why wouldn't I want to bet on King Kong right now before we know the real money is still on the sidelines here? And I would build the case that the real money I'm talking about that really has drawn me into this space is not going to invest in Pookie coin, dude. It's not happening. Okay, not Pookie coin. So it's going to go into King Kong first, and they're going to check it all out. The Ethereum ETF's not going to get approved in May for sure, right? I mean, that's a pipe dream. And we have a lot of DOJ stuff to get through here. A lot of DOJ stuff. I think there are people receiving letters today that, are sitting down with a team of lawyers going, okay, how do we defend against this? A plethora of DOJ, and I think to a larger group of people than we might have anticipated before.
Gary, you got to be careful, man. Next thing, we're probably going to see a Pookie coin here on Dex Tools in a short period of time.
Whatever works, right? I mean, it's not my investment strategy, but just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
That's a very true statement. But the problem is, a majority of people in our space, that they're not really going to listen. Gary, did you see the speech that was given at Ohio State University at their graduation?
No, I did not. I saw it all over Twitter. I was like, okay, I'll get to it later. But what's the dealio?
Let's watch it here. And Rocco, let's keep Gary and me maybe on the screen. I want to get Gary's real-time reaction. So this is at Ohio State University, and this was a speech given at their graduation. And I want you to listen to what he's saying, Gary, but I also want you to listen to the crowd in the background as well.
Great investors are open-minded and understand things before other people. So I know this might feel polarizing, but I encourage you to keep an open mind right now. I see Bitcoin as a very misunderstood asset class.
They're booing, yeah.
It's decentralized and finite, which means no government can print more at will. In the early days, the exchanges for Bitcoin were prone to hacks and fraud, but the issue has been resolved with the recent launch of the Bitcoin ETFs backed by two of the world's largest asset managers, BlackRock and Fidelity. So anyone could hold these ETFs in your retirement account. Great investment.
Gary, what is that kind? Obviously, there's other videos where you can really hear the boos. It was someone who was recording from the stands. What does this tell you? Maybe where are we in the cycle? Because we know historically, obviously, crypto has been retail driven because we haven't had any of these ETFs or ways for these institutions or large companies or even nation states to be able to get exposure to it. But what does this tell you about what people think about Bitcoin? Do we still have a long ways to go, or is this too small of a sample size for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, do we even know that that audience was booing to what he was saying? I mean, maybe there was a, Biden supporter back there, or a Trump supporter, or yeah, who knows, man? I mean, I think we're conflating a lot of things right now. Quite frankly, it doesn't really matter what these students do or do not think about Bitcoin. They probably don't have any money. And the only money they're going to get is from their inherited rich parents, who will probably give that to an investment advisor, and these little 20-year-old political activists won't even be making the decision of where their money is. So I'm not sure it's really relevant, David.
Gary,
Sorry to be like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just down kind of basic. I just don't think it freaking matters, dude. Biggest money on planet Earth is getting ready to walk into this market, and everyone's all down about it. It's stunning to me.
It kind of is. You know who's not walking away, Gary, is high net worth individuals and Bitcoin whales. And I want to share this tweet from Willie Woo. Well, it's a couple tweets, and I want to kind of get your take on this. So he posted this. Never has there been such a buying spree by high net worth Bitcoin holders as has happened in the last 2 months, with Bitcoin ranging between $60,000 and $70,000. These are the guys holding between 100 and 1,000 Bitcoin, or roughly $6.5 to $65 million. And then we have this as well from Thomas at Hey Apollo. On-chain data shows Bitcoin whales are stacking like mad right now. What do you think they know? I know you recently, Gary, I don't know if you sold your home, but you put it up for sale. The home I visited, by the way, gorgeous house, for your birthday party. But you listed that for BTC. Did the house get sold? And what are your thoughts on this? I put you in this group of high net worth individuals who are buying Bitcoin. Is there, maybe give us some insight on the thinking and the logic here, and maybe at what price point, what's your strategy? Is it hold forever? Is it wait for a 4X, a 3X? What are you thinking?
A lot of questions there, but I'll attempt to address it. The house, I did sell one house, and deployed all of that into Bitcoin. I think that was in the 40s, or maybe not 40s, maybe even 60s. I don't know. And then just deployed another piece at in the 50s. I added 8% to the stack. So I'm now starting to look at not how much money I'm deploying, but how can I increase my stack by percentages, just the holding of Bitcoin itself. So I think what we're going to see, my belief is that these people do not care about price. The money that's going to come in here, look at Berkshire Hathaway's price. I don't know if you can pull that up 20, 30 years. You have a chart, no sense of me pulling up. I'll mess it up here. But if you look at that, I could have bought Berkshire Hathaway, I think for $8,000 when I was much younger. And I did what I think part of your thesis is this, I can buy more shares of a cheaper stock. What's the market cap on that beast?
So this
what time period is that?
So this is the all-time chart on Berkshire Hathaway. Market cap is currently $582 million.
Yeah, 582. So it's a little bit bigger than Ethereum. Okay, 40% of its holdings is in Apple. Okay, it owns one of the largest rail facilities in the world. So I looked at that and went, what's the price today? I'm sorry, I didn't.
400.
The point I was trying to make.
405.
Yeah, and I think the Berkshire, the preferred stuff, it's in the 800,000 range, right? They've never broken that stock up, the core. I could have bought it at 8,000. I didn't because it should have been cheaper. So look, I'm adding Bitcoin. I like 63,000. I had bought 70,000. I had bought 66,000. I bought everything I cleared the other day. I couldn't believe I could buy that much Bitcoin in the 50s. And one of the guys that works with me was here, and he was like, they were seeing me place the orders, and he started asking about, hey, look, it's fallen 22%. I just looked at him and went, do I fucking look worried? I mean, really though, it was just such a do I fucking look worried? So like, this is, if you told me that I could buy the rarest diamond in the world, or some crazy thing, and I can't inflate supply, I do not understand why people think a 20% discount's a bad trade, dude. Hey, I got a Bentley, $1 million Bentley, and now you can buy it for $800 grand. Like, I'm going to go take a look at it, okay? Or a piece of art dropped 20%. Really, why did it drop 20%? Nothing changed for Bitcoin. Nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed in this universe is all these other altcoins and other. Nothing has changed negative for Bitcoin. Not one item, not a hair of anything has changed for Bitcoin. In fact, if anything, like, it's now very predictable what's going to happen with these large investors. And what is happening? What is actually happening right now? Guys buying 100 Bitcoin. Is that an hour?
Some days, Gary, like on May 2nd, I think he had 13 or 15 buys. Some minimum was 100. Some, though, were at 200, 300 Bitcoin.
Yep. And I mean, I didn't look at it deeply, but I pretty much assure you it's not really that price sensitive.
Yeah.
At 100, let's start thinking about Bitcoin as a market cap. I would implore everyone to stop talking about 63,061. Let's talk about market cap. Market cap at 1.3 trillion. Whoa, 1.3 trillion for the entire internet. All the commerce that's possibly going to be done on the internet. You can buy that for $1.3 trillion. That's the cheapest damn option in the history of mankind, dude. And it never decays. Like, if we do this, if this happens, if we move into digital everything, right? Bitcoin has such a monster role here. I don't care if Ethereum and other things, surely there will be other things that will play a role, but whoa, you're buying, this isn't just a coin, dude. This is a community layered on top of this technology thing that's bringing a tremendous amount of people together. Okay, like those naysayers in that Ohio thing, I mean, I've met more good, high-quality people in the last 3 years of my life studying Bitcoin than I have the prior 30. That is staggering, man. Not only good people, but really smart people. I may or may not disagree with them or agree with them, but I've met a lot of high-quality people, and I don't think the best of them are here yet. The edge cases are here. The road kind of, hey, I'm not going to ever join the club, Michael Saylor type people. Notice the characteristics. They're very, very common characteristics of what you guys call the suits coming in. Like, we're actually the best friends you're going to have. Wait till you meet these new suits. But they're here for 10 years, man. And they're not, it's amazing to me, a lot of the money that's going into these, into the ETFs, it's hilarious. It's such a risky, violent product. What's the first entry point? Into their IRA.
Yeah.
So they're taking this perceived social monster risky asset, and then my sister says, hey, I think I'm going to take it into my IRA. And this is consistent over and over. So there's this freaking schizophrenia going on, I think, with human beings and Bitcoin. I'm scared of it. I'm going to stick it in my IRA. Wow. Kind of weird, right? But they're really, subconsciously, they know that they want to protect those returns from tax. That's really what they're saying. I do believe the returns are going to be there, but I want to protect it from tax. Otherwise, you would never, ever stick your IRA retirement program into the most volatile commodity that the world has ever seen, right? And so we're winning, man. We're winning. Why I would go bet on a subpar team right now when I have this opportunity? And bro, my average cost, okay, it's $40,383. So I'm buying here at a serious premium to my average. And that's the only reason I'm doing this, right? I'm actually sharing with people what I'm doing. So, like other people can, if you have the conviction I have, I'm not giving anybody investment advice. I'm just kind of openly sharing, hey, this is what I think. This is how I treat every other business, and I'm going to share it publicly. And hopefully 2 or 3 years from now, you know, Forbes magazine will call me up and go, hey, bro, let's go talk about that trade you put on, because I'm late to the table, right? There's a lot of really, really rich whales here. Those are the guys that concern me the very most about this market.
You know, Gary,
it's not Gary Gensler, dude. It's the old whales that scare me more than anyone else in this market.
you know, Gary, you mentioned feeling like you're late. The way I look at Bitcoin is, you know, the old saying, better late than never. There's going to be people who see, you know, when Bitcoin gets to that 100,000, $250,000, $500,000, and eventually $1 million and say, if only I would have bought it at 50. But I'll tell you what, with everything going on in the world, going on with the US dollar, I want to share this with you, Gary, and kind of get your take on this from Charlie Bilello. More people are receiving Social Security benefits than are paying in. And if nothing is done, the trust fund will run dry in just 10 years. At which point benefits will have to be cut. What are the options to save it before it gets to that point? How about instead of saving the system that is eventually going to fail, and if we do try to save it, we're either going to have to cut back massively.
They're going to print more money.
They're going to
that's it.
They're
not. They won't let. We saw what happened with France, and they won't let the U.S. population revolt. And so I'm not saying that they're going to fix the system, but they're just going to simply just print their way out of that problem, right? Especially the incumbent president, whoever's got the chair at that point in time is gonna say, hey, we got to print. That's the solution to everything, right? Every time there's some altercation, some country that needs financial aid, whatever it may be, whatever agenda they got going on, they're just going to, instead of trying to find the money and fund the problem, they're going to just debate on whether or not they should print the money, right? And that's why we're in the situation now. There's no accountability for our spending. The U.S. dollar, or at least the economic system that we have now, is fundamentally broken, and that's why we're seeing this inflation ramping up. You know, home prices are doubling every 8 years or so, and I don't know, man. It's where else are you supposed to park your money? Where else? There's not a lot of options. I mean, it's ultimately commodities, and what commodity is easy to move around and free.
You know, my brother's 25, and he told me the other day, hey, I locked up 10 grand into a CD for 4 years. I'm like, are you special? I didn't use that word, but I'm afraid to use it on air. I might get canceled. But Gary, in your circle of friends, right? Are you hearing more of this narrative of, you know, people starting to realize, hey, maybe Bitcoin is a hedge with what's happening here in the U.S., what's happening globally, what's eventually going to happen to the dollar? Essentially, this has been nothing but a trial run over the last 50 years of having currency not backed by anything. And so I think everyone on this panel can agree that that test run is gonna fall flat on its face, and we're gonna get back to some form of hard money. I'm not saying it's going to be Bitcoin, but hey, could it be a basket of commodities? Sure. Can Bitcoin be part of that? Sure. But what's the vibe, or what are you hearing around your circle of friends? Are people looking at things like this, Social Security running out, inflation ramping up, everything Robin mentioned, and really starting to give Bitcoin a fair look?
I don't think. Yes, I do think there are people doing that. I think the people like me, that is not the money that I'm talking about that's getting ready to come in. I see the money that's coming in today is could be more short-term money. My money's not, But I think there are, like for me, I actually think there was a big old chunk between 22 or maybe 17 and 30 that was front run Wall Street money. Bunch of guys packed up a bunch of volume or pre-volume. The ETF knew it was coming, took 15, 20 grand out of it, and now they're, pushing it back into the market, making their margin. And that's the little country club benefit that the Wall Street guys got. That was 2 or 3 months. But, as the price goes higher, wealthier people are going to like it. This is why I was trying to bring up that Berkshire. It's BRK.A. Okay, it's at $611,000 today. It's never done a split or changed pricing. I could have bought that in 1995 at $8,000. And that's what is that, 60? That's about an 800X, right? Is that an 800X or an 80X? It don't matter, dude. That's a great
A lot of
return
X's.
For just sitting there having your money work. Okay, now, interesting. If you go look at Berkshire Hathaway, whoa, Apple 42%, big railroad. I mean, these are just cash generating businesses, right? And dominant, monopolistic dominant. So I just look at some of these, go back to your altcoin thing. I think love to do a thing with you and Robin one day. Hey, let's look at I made a huge mistake, dude. I should have bought $8,000 worth of Berkshire in 1992 or 95. And I just looked at other things. Oh, I'll buy $80 stock or an $8 stock. And I can't remember any of those companies. I don't think I made any money on those $8 stocks. And I'm looking at this thing going, whoa. So I do believe that large dominant players can do things that we underestimate. Look at NVIDIA. If I'm investing for legacy wealth and for creating a new security blanket over here while I'm doing my day job, I think the vast majority of that investment needs to be in the greatest return, least amount of effort, and least amount of risk. That for me has to be my assessment, because I want to be able to wake up in 15 years and go, hey, not only did I buy Bitcoin, but I still own Bitcoin. I didn't forget Bitcoin like I forgot all these other things between 8,000, because I was so smart. I said, oh, that's just too expensive, to 611. I do not remember one of the companies that I spent $8 or $80 on. Probably none of them made it, and they're definitely not in my portfolio.
I'll say the compelling thing about altcoins, and I agree that from just an investment perspective, if you don't have the time to study the markets, Bitcoin makes so much sense. And there's a very easy argument to say, hey, no need to take on risk. Bitcoin is going to prevail over the basket of alts. And I'll say this, that with altcoins, there is a programmability of fintech. There is a new technology here that serves a purpose that, Bitcoin can't right now, right? Bitcoin essentially doesn't have multiple transactions per minute. It has the one block every 8-9 minutes. And so there's things that Bitcoin just wasn't developed to do. And there are certain things that these altcoins, these smart contracts do that you can't find anywhere else in the world. And why do I say that? It's, you get a decentralized network and you can have smart contracts between two different parties. It gives you, it removes the third party from the situation. And so if I want to put it into an agreement and say, hey, I want to transfer the ownership of this product, whether it's a car, a house, perhaps it's a sports bet, and we can program in there if and perimeters, have nobody take a cut from the outside, no company, no custodial agent that we have to worry about, no KYC, and I know this is in the US here as we're talking about it, but the fact that me and you can create a contract and have it work in real time and move value with if and parameters is something that doesn't exist. And someone else is always got a cut or a hand in it, and particularly governments as well, if they decide, hey, we don't want that to happen. And so altcoins serve a purpose, or at least their technology does. And something's going to come up. One of these guys are going to win, and they're going to take a market adoption. They're going to grow in value. And so if you look at that, the eventuality of some layer one altcoin being a dominant go-to utility or tool that the world uses, and I think one or two or three altcoins will be that. And those whatever project
which ones are going to make the cut and win?
You know,
listen, I don't disagree with anything you said. Okay, I think that there are theoretical utility purposes for some of these coins. There are some great philosophical ideas. One thing you guys have taught me, and I really am grateful for the education, is I will always have an opportunity to deploy capital into those entities that are actually being successful, because the market will underestimate their progress. I just don't think I need to do it today. Because I think the utility value and the regulatory exposure that we have on Bitcoin will provide me a monsterly outsized return. And you said, hey, look, if you don't have the time to trade, I would ask you, how much time does it require a human being to become a professional token trader? Okay, how much time? And is their family situated for it? Can they do the travel to Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Buki Dookie and Vegas and meet all these influencers and meet the token creators and the VCs? Dude, it's a lot, right? Because the trader that makes the most money has an edge. He has some inside tell that other people buying this that are spending less than 9-10 hours a day, 6 days a week, I don't think any of those people are going to make any money. To me, that is the barrier of entry. When you say, hey, if you don't have the time to trade, what is that investment? Like, how much time? I think it's considerable amount of concentrated time.
There is a lot of risk taking on trades, getting in and out of position, and there's no doubt about it. And you can look at you can just look at the sentiment of markets even outside of crypto, and people that just trade for a living, the people that are successful at it are the minority, right? Stock market and the bond markets, those are no different. And I think crypto fits the same bill. Now, at the same time, picking out successful companies that are innovative and buying those stocks, I think it is worth something. And I look at crypto and altcoins the same way. If you believe in the technology, you believe that this can be used globally and adopted globally, then why not get a position on those protocols at an early stage level, especially if you're just allocating a percentage of your portfolio. Now, me personally, if I'm leveraged up, or if I'm positioned over 60% in Bitcoin, and I take my 30 or 40%, I know that might sound like crazy to you as far as a percentage portfolio, but and I can identify these projects have something that provide value for not only just, it's not just a speculative item, and you see companies getting behind them. This isn't just a PR news article. You see the likes of Starbucks and Nike. You see Disney.
You got BlackRock.
Yeah, and you got BlackRock tokenizing real world assets. So it's not just a couple guys on YouTube talking about how great it's gonna be. There's actual partnerships, use case, and utilities. And the thing is here in the United States, we're privy to being at the forefront of technology, but there's a lot of countries that lack the infrastructure for simple things, for apps that we take for granted. Now, whether or not it's It's apps that provide insurance or identification or weather. There are things that, there's these dApps that are built on these layer ones, and there's also just the infrastructure being built on layer ones that fix real world problems for countries that don't have the fintech setup that we have, or at least the dApps. And so it's going to be a disruptive technology in some way, shape, or form. How much will it be? That's to be said. Are the projects that are here now going to stay? I don't know. But for me, at least, that's why I have the channels, because it's exciting. There's so much being built, and there are going to be some winners, and there's some here right now. And so for us, I'm trying to figure out what are those projects. And at least for the people that do want to take on the risk and find those, we're out here trying to give you the alpha. We're like, hey, man, look, we like this one. This one seems sketchy and scam-like. And so, for friends and family that don't got time to do what we do, hey, buy Bitcoin, man. That's a smart move. But if you wanna get a piece of the pie on the next coming of fintech and the next wave of apps and dApps that are built in a decentralized way, we're gonna deliver that, man.
Gary, I want to ask you, Gary, have you ever bought a meme coin?
Probably not.
Don't do it.
No, have you ever?
No.
Would you ever?
Would I ever? I mean, is Dogecoin a meme coin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it? It is.
Yeah.
Well, then I own a meme coin.
There you
You
go.
heard it here first.
It is.
Gary Cardone owns meme coins.
Yeah.
Gary, we're gonna clip this up, post it all over.
Wait, but y'all are gonna just close it right here. We gotta have a chat here. Now, first off, okay, want to go back to real world assets. This is a new thing. I've got to just get everybody, we have to be careful here, guys. Okay, we are already being hoodwinked by Wall Street. Wake up. Okay, it comes very, very subtly. This term, real world assets, okay, it just popped up about 7-8 months ago. It is a misdirector. We should stop using it, just like we should stop using stable coins as a term. They're not stable. When you link, they're linked. Okay, call them damn link coins. Okay, they're linked, and that gives the user, it's linked to something. That means it's either stronger or weaker if it's linked to something. Real world assets. What the hell is that? Insurance is a derivative. It's a piece of paper, dude. There's nothing real about an insurance product. There's nothing real about a mortgage on a house. Don't let them start doing this, okay? The only thing that's real is gold, work, guns, energy, kinetic energy, work.
Gary,
That's the only thing that's real.
Can
okay?
I ask you a question? Gary, real quick, can I ask you a question?
But hang tight. But I think it's very, very important, though, that we don't start going down this road, because what is that doing? It is subtly diminishing Bitcoin's place in the market. Now, I'm a big believer that we shouldn't be poking the eyeballs at the Fed and the IMF and the Bank of Japan and Bank of England, okay? But we should not take on to this bullshit that real-world assets like derivatives, future contracts, equities, bonds, pensions, they're not real. Okay, all Bitcoin has done is that we have technologically advanced the ability to roll derivatives out on all of these products. Okay, they're all derivatives, and Bitcoin's more real-world asset. This is my only point. It is much more of a real-world asset than an insurance policy by State Farm or AIG. So just wanted to say that because we're gonna get. Think about who's listening to this topic now. It's older people, older investors. We don't want them thinking that Bitcoin's not a real world.
Well, I got a question.
So,
if you were living, or say for an individual living in Ukraine, if they were to put together a last will and testament, basically composing a will, and you can either keep it at one of the bureaus there, or one of some government office. You could keep your last will and testament there, or hypothetically speaking, and this can be done, and I don't know if it would be recognized, but let's just say you took your last will and testament and you stamped it onto a Satoshi and you put it on the Bitcoin blockchain. That essentially is immutable, can not be deleted, is there forever, right? And on one end you have that, or you have one, or you trust the government and you can put it there. And so that is in itself the tokenization of a real world asset, quote unquote. I mean, you can remove last will and testament. You could put, as you said, a derivative. You could put the deed to a house, a car, your identification. But essentially, that's what it is. And in extreme cases, and here in the States, we might not need that. You know, we have that already in place, right? I feel comfortable going down to my lawyer, giving them my last will and testament, and I feel like in my passing, it'll execute and it'll be honored, right? But we don't, that luxury isn't afforded globally. And so that's just one example for me. I would feel more comfortable putting it on a blockchain that's immutable versus an unstable government, or at least a government that you're not really sure what the future lays 20 years from now, right? And so I think real world assets are here to stay. I think they're going to evolve. I think there's no brainer use cases for it. And then from there, people are going to be like, well, it works for that. Why not put gold on there too? Why not do X, Y, and Z? So.
Yeah. So hey, listen, on your meme coin, would love to explain my position because and it's not because I need to justify it or that I'm defending, because I don't really give a fuck what anybody thinks I should do with my money. I get to make that decision, and I honor anyone to do whatever they want with their own money. That to me is the thesis of Bitcoin. You can do whatever you want. You can save it, hold it, do whatever the hell you want with it. We are still free human beings. Dogecoin. I think it's the cheapest call option I have on Elon Musk. And I get paid if he dies, and I get paid if he wins. Okay, I think this is a meme coin where this meme coin will literally have some intrinsic value as a piece of memorabilia. Just thinking that he passed, okay, that he died. So I look at that and go, I paid, I think I got, I don't know, 400,000 Dogecoin. It's not and it's an option premium that never expires. Unless the coin just goes plonk, right? And they pull it. So for me, it's I could afford to lose the money. And I don't really have a time restriction on it. That makes me happy. I don't really even care about how many are out there, is the tokenization economics. Or the token economics. It's, for me, just a call option on it's cheaper than me buying X or Twitter or Space. I can't really invest in those companies easily.
So it's a proxy for you.
You see, it's a call option on Elon, on him dying and living. And on X, because X is going to become something or nothing.
Yeah.
There's no chance X doesn't get much bigger and become an Amazon, or maybe the Amazon of how we have education, news. I mean, I'm doing this right now. Some of the efforts I'm taking outside just doing Bitcoin is because I believe this is an extremely binary event in our lives here. I was with Kathy Woods the other day at a ball game, not to drop names, but see, I know she gets this, okay? There is no turning back from this. There is absolutely no turning back from this technological. We're being pulled into this vortex of everything new. And it really defies, most people have a very difficult time understanding how significant this change is going to be. We will all overestimate how long it takes until one moment, and it's just in your face, man. So to me, we will have to have platforms like X that provide this decentralized capacity for us to communicate with each other and share, because this is a store, right? These are stores now. So anyway, if that's successful, they're going to use some type of token. Like, I will probably never use Bitcoin to buy bag of potato chips. Okay, I actually value Bitcoin far greater, almost to a religious point. Like, I would not walk into the Vatican and, not make the Holy Cross, man. I mean, come on. I'm going to have some respect, right? So I think Bitcoin deserves that type of respect, because I think it solves quite a few issues here. And why I would spend it on a bag of potato chips, thinking that my deal flow into the marketplace is going to grease the skids of commerce, is a complete and utter joke. Okay, that's such a, it just shows you how egotistical people are and their ability to influence massive markets. Like, you're not, I'm a drop in the universe of oceans. So, so I have a meme coin, man. Guilty is found, Your Honor.
Gary, I think
I also own some shit called fiat. Okay?
What better meme coin
than that? It's a token too. It's a meme coin, total meme coin.
Yeah, I would argue it's worse than a meme coin. Gary, I think a lot of people.
It's got a military protecting it, bro.
That's true. Well, there's all the communities in crypto, man. They're kind of like militaries, man. They get down in the trenches. They fight each other, although not with actual weapons, just more keyboards and words.
Yeah, with blunts and rap music.
Hey, man, whatever it takes to win the war, Gary. I think, Gary, what you mentioned about not wanting to spend your Bitcoin, I think a lot of people in that same boat, myself included. But I also can foresee or maybe foreshadow, as inflation continues to grow, or at least is anchored in a 3-4%, right? We went from normalizing 2% to, I think eventually they're going to see how sticky inflation is and start to normalize 3%, and then 4%, and then 5%. And the next thing you know, every 25 years, your $100 is worth zero. Could we see things start to be priced in Bitcoin? Can we see people say, hey, 10 years ago, it would take 10 Bitcoin to buy a house. Now it takes 0.5 Bitcoin. Or, hey, I can buy a company. I can buy a share of a company. And so I think as time grows, that value proposition could potentially come into light. But Gary, it's always a great conversation when we have you on the show. We appreciate you, my friend. Guys, I implore all of you watching to go subscribe to Gary's YouTube channel. That link is in the description of this video. Also, go follow him on X and Twitter. He does do a lot of spaces on there with a lot of really good guests. We've jumped in there a few times. Love conversating with you, Gary. Thank you so much for your time and joining us. And maybe if you have some time, we'll chat after the show here. If you want to stay connected. But yeah, man,
sure.
We appreciate
Give me some
you.
tips on some meme coins.
Yeah. Well, to give you all the alpha, man, we'll tell you the next Doge coming. So
yeah, there's another frog hamster coin.
Hey, maybe Pookie, right? Pookie might be live. We'll check on that. Gary, love you, man. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. What a good conversation. Some people, I was looking at the chat from time to time. Some people don't agree. Some people agree, which is great. So you want conversation. You don't want to be in a spot where you're in this echo chamber of just listening to people that confirm your biases. You want to have a larger view, a different perspectives of everything. It's going to make you a better investor, a better trader. So big shout out to Gary. That'll do it for the show today. Make sure to come back tomorrow. Same place, same time. What?
That's it. Same place, same time, man.
Same place, same time. Rocco.
Signing. That's it.
That was a little early. You got to wait. The finger didn't start yet. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show. We love you guys. Come back tomorrow. Also, check out Billy Goat Tales tonight. X Spaces. I'll try to hop in there myself. Love you guys.
Entertainment and info, gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Named according to your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy the dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming hola till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I?